Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Guiding Lights. My name is Alexis Nelson, and I am the founder of BEST, which is Be Exceptional Support Together. What we do is we create awareness for exceptional communities and all communities. We have the awesome job to bring people in the community on to share their journeys. And it is an exceptional journey indeed. If you are new to this show, make sure you like and share. And if you want to learn more about what BEST does, please visit us at bestsupport.org. And if you have a journey that you want to share, that you want to empower others with, make sure you email me soon and let me know because we want to create awareness for everyone. There are so many barriers and so many people who are in this community without resources or they feel like they're losing hope. We need you on here to share your journey, not just if you're a part of the exceptional community, but if you also contribute, if you add value to our community, because this is so important. And also, I want to give you some updates coming soon. We will have our Don't Stare, Just Care All Abilities Walk May 18th. It will be at Hidden Lake. So save the date. More details will be coming soon. You'll be able to see that on our website and our Facebook page. So now that we got all of that out the way, again, wait a minute. Don't forget, I need you to be a guiding light and like and share. So today I have Miss Helen on joining us, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself and to tell us about who she is and what she does. So if you can introduce yourself to the community, Helen, please go forward.
Hi, my name's Helen. I am the owner of Beyond the Spectrum Childcare and Education Center. It's a education center and childcare for all children with all abilities. And I myself has a son who is on the spectrum. Therefore, because of my struggles I had to deal with, I decided to open my own centers to help parents like me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, it's so many questions I want to ask you. I've had the pleasure of meeting Helen some time ago, and we just had conversation about our babies. And I knew from the moment that I met her that she had a heart and she had that advocacy in her that is so needed. And I just want to ask you, Helen, I know you have your own establishment, but I want you to also share your journey. And then I want you to also let us know how people can reach out to you before we get off the show, because it's important that people know where they can go. It's so many waiting lists for everything, and just to know that there are other establishments out there that care for our babies is really comforting. So first, let's start with your journey with your son.
So, my son's 8 years old and I put him in public school. The public school, and I'm just going to be as honest as I can, they abused him. Sent him to another public school. They abused him. Therefore, I didn't know any of this would happen before I sent him to school because I was so used to sending my other kids to school. Everything was fine. I feel like in the education world, a lot of educators don't want to deal with these type of children. It's overwhelming, and that's what really started my journey was me having to figure out a way to protect my son. And don't get me wrong, he's in a ABA program that's really good. He goes to a chiropractor. He has different resources, but that's what actually started my journey to realize, and not all parents can do that, and I understand that. Some parents have to work, therefore they can't just say, "Hey, I want my son to stay with me or daughter or whatever," because they actually have to work. There are a lot of resources out there, but like you said, the waiting lists are so long because I feel like they're limited. Um, But yeah, so Northwest Indiana Community Action, they help. The Indiana waiver helps. Like I said, he goes to a chiropractor. You can do in-home ABA if you don't feel comfortable with a center. um, the ABA companies can go to your school if your school allows it. There are different resources.
So I want to ask you, for those out there who are watching and are not familiar with the term ABA, what can you explain what that means? What is that?
So basically, ABA is where they go either come into your home and work with your child, or they go to the center and work with your child. There's behavior specialists, BCBAs, RBTs, um, and yeah, they basically work with your child, trying to teach your child different things, pretty much how to do things on their own.
Have you ever ran into any situations where you may have had a provider for your son, but it wasn't a goodness of fit? And if you did run into that, how did you resolve that issue?
Well, the company he's with now, yes, he had an RBT that I wasn't comfortable with. Therefore, I just spoke with the BCBA, and this at the time he was in home. So he was then transferred. That was no longer his RBT. But like I said, not, right now he's in center until my facility opens, and then they'll come to my facility with him. The RBT will be here with him. Um, but yeah, if you have a good ABA company, then and you don't feel comfortable with who's caring for your child, then you can always talk to them and make sure that you get somebody else.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. Now, you have had, you spoke to some of your challenges that you had with the school system. Have you experienced any other barriers when it comes to having an exceptional child?
Um, I mean, everyday life. Is that what you speak of?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
We have to have these conversations because sometimes people feel like, is it just me? Am am I the only one that
Mm,
is dealing with this? I don't think anyone knows my no one understands my journey. I feel like I'm an alien on a planet sometimes by myself, or I'm like, remember Mork and Minnie, Nanu, Nanu. I'm like, it's just like, where is the support? And if there is, for those who don't know or may not think it is, or they just feel like they're alone,
mhm.
what it's kind of like, what is your life like and how do you navigate through it?
Well, I'll be honest. When it comes to my son, I trust no one. I'm like 99.9% of the parents out there. I but I'm lucky enough to have older children who help me with him. And I know a lot of people don't have that, but yes, I think that a big barrier is the fact that us as parents, we don't trust anyone with our children because some of our children cannot tell us. So that's like an everyday barrier. Another barrier is the fact that when we do send them to school or whatever, well, my personal experience, the school is calling me every other day to come pick my child up because my child sneezed, because they don't want to take care of him. So I think that's another problem that a lot of working parents have, is they cannot go pick up their child every time the school calls and says to come pick them up. So that's a really big thing.
Yeah, I can't imagine. And for those who are doing it all by themselves,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
have to work,
Yeah.
or I have multiple children,
Mhm.
and I have to provide for my family. So for me to come off my job, to come pick up my, and us mothers will do it. We will come.
Mhm.
Listen, we don't care, I just like, what? I'm there.
Yeah.
However, that is a barrier, and just learning ways how to break through these barriers, having more centers, having more people who have been trained
Mhm.
well. And I'm not saying that, and there's a lot of good therapists out there. They really are, because I've had some really good ones for my daughter. And for me to jump to another one, it takes a whole lot, because as you said, when you have non-speaking children, and you really have to truly be an advocate and
Yes.
protective, because you want to make sure that they're safe. And
Yes.
so just making room where we feel safe, because this everybody needs, and I talk about this every time I come on here. Everyone needs a village,
Mhm.
and everybody's village may look different, but we need a village. You need your tribe. You need those who can support you through this journey, because there are some days where you like,
Yeah.
and listen, I was drinking Starbucks, Helen, and I had to let it go, because, that was my like, okay, I'm about to go get me a cup of Starbucks. Or I'm gonna go get me a Reese cup. That was my go-to. But outside of those things, you need some human interaction that can say, go ahead, girl, you can make it.
Yeah.
It's okay. Oh, you need 10 minutes? Because sometimes that's all I may get.
Yeah.
Okay. And for people, they're like, that's it? That's all? I said, let me explain to you, honey. This journey is not like any journey that you may have ever experienced.
Nope.
It comes with no rules, no book to tell you what to do or how to do it. Some days when you think it's going this way, if my baby want to go that way, guess what?
Mhm.
I have to go that way.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what plans I've had. It doesn't matter what the agenda was for the day, because
Mhm.
flexibility in our community is a must. You
Yeah.
have to have it. So having that support system and that tribe is really, really important. And that's good. You have your kids. And now what would you tell parents who have children, you know, that may be, and I say all children are exceptional, because we all have areas that we may not be as strong in. But how would you encourage parents to really be inclusive when it comes to, your other children, with your exceptional child?
I don't treat my autistic son any different than I treat the rest of my children. He gets treated exactly the same. Don't get me wrong, he's the baby. So
Mhm.
he does have only child syndrome because, like I said, my other children are much older. But other than that, he gets treated exactly the same. If he's doing something, I'm gonna scream at him the same way I would my other children. If he's doing something great, I'm gonna praise him the same way I would my other children. I don't treat him any different when it comes to that.
Now, how do your children respond? Did you teach them how to work with your how did you educate them, or did you feel you needed to do that?
No, it came natural.
Okay.
To all of them, it came natural from being around him,
Mhm.
and I think that they just followed my lead.
Mhm. And that's another good point. As you lead in this journey, sometimes you have to teach people, because everyone is not familiar with your story.
Yes.
Everyone may not be out in my family. Yes, everybody know, okay, this is how she is. You know, do not mess with her rocking chair.
Yeah.
Even sit in her rocking chair,
Yeah.
because she will pull you up out of that rocking chair, because that's her rocking chair.
Yeah.
And everybody understands that in this home. So now
Hmm.
when I have other people come in, or those who may not be familiar, I have to educate. I have to, educate, because I don't want her to be mishandled. And I want to make sure that people are clear. Like certain things you can't do. You can't come over here. We can't be in front of a fire truck with a siren.
Hmm.
My baby completely.
Yeah.
She is going to run like Jackie Joyner. Listen, she will be a gone,
Mm.
elope. So there's things I have to do to educate others. And I think that's a piece that's really important, because sometimes, we assume people should know better, or we assume that you can see that there's something different, you
Hmm.
know, and You should know better, but people don't sometimes,
No, they actually don't.
and we have to speak up. Like you said, you know what, I'm gonna make a center. I'm going to do this. And it was birthed out of your passion, your purpose.
Mm,
And even though it's your purpose and your passion, there are many people who are looking for a space where they can take their kids and feel comfortable
yeah,
without worry.
yeah. So that was my biggest thing. When I created, this center, it was designed with me in mind. That's what I say. And the reason I say that is because everything that I want, I know other children want, as far as cameras, as far as the supervision that needs to these children need heavy supervision, and they need people who care. And if you don't care, you cannot be around me. It's not about I have a body here. It's about you better be on it because I'm watching. I want everything that I've ever wanted for my son when I send him to school or ABA or anything like that, because it's a worry you have within you that someone is going to hurt your child if you're not there. I always have to worry about that. And I don't want my parents to have to worry about that. That's why the camera systems are in place. That's why I'm only hiring people that can show me that they're actually here for a reason. They're not here for a paycheck. They're here because they actually do care about these children. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And it's a blueprint. And like I said, we have some really good organizations, and there are some that need a lot of TLC. A
Mhm.
lot. I'm gonna put a capital TLC on it.
Yeah.
But we do have those providers out there who are doing what they're supposed to do,
Yes.
and I celebrate them. And you're one of them now. So we have to celebrate and be able to have a list of these organizations where we can comfortably say, okay, now this is a really good organization that's going to treat your child as they would treat their own
Yes.
better, or they can come here and they're going to get the services that they need. They're not just going to be sitting somewhere in a corner. you
Mhm.
know. And so I really appreciate your heart to provide such a space for not just the children, but for the parents, honey. That's therapy. You can sit back and say, whew,
Yeah.
there's, that really is. And when you find somewhere like that, this is what you want to spread the news about.
Mhm.
Most definitely.
I believe that all parents have the same worries that I have
Mm-hmm.
about if they're not with their child, someone may mistreat their child.
Mm-hmm.
Their child cannot say anything if they're being mistreated.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that's always been my biggest worry about me not being there. Well, when it comes to him going to therapies or school, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, and I tell people, we have a lot of things that we have to manage in our journey. And it helps when we don't have to have a plate load every single moment of the day.
Hmm.
It really does. And just having resources, or maybe I can call and say, I'm looking for this, and this agency or this support or your tribe, oh, this is where you can go get that. This is
Hmm.
where you can find this. Because I'm going to tell you, in the beginning of my journey, I was like, wait a minute, I didn't even know about beads. And I was a social worker. I was like, now wait a minute, what is going on here? Like, why isn't this information inside the schools?
Yeah.
Like at an early age, what is that about? Because if we can get services at an early age, and parents are aware of, this is what you need to do, we won't have all abilities at the age of 30
Yeah.
without services. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And it's like, what is this? So now, not only do we have to be advocates just within the community, but we really need that legislative piece where we can take it a step further. Like, okay, please explain to me, why aren't these agencies allowed in the public school system to get the services to the people that need these services? You know, why don't they know about able accounts? Why? Well, what is that about? These are sources that can help all abilities. You
Mm,
know, these are things that we need to bring to light, to bring into our school system, because that's where the majority of the kids, they send their kids to school.
yeah.
You send your children to school. What if the services were right there? Or if you allowed us to have a table and say, have all the parents come up here. If you are not on the waiver, you can
Mm,
sign up here at school.
yeah.
Making things where it's accessible, because depending on what community you are part of, you may not have access to all these resources as someone else that may be living in a different geographical area.
Mm-hmm.
But school is neutral. This is where we can start adding more value to this community, and I'm really passionate about it. It's like I'm an advocate, because that's just all social work anyway. But outside of that, I'm a part of the community.
Mm-hmm.
It takes it to a whole nother, dimension for me. And I think we need more people with voices to say enough, enough. We need more services, and we need early intervention. We need to not be, reactive. Let's,
Mm-hmm.
let's do something preventative. What can we do to help these families? Because I'm seeing it, some of my clients are adults and no services. And that can be that's not good. And so I was just like, what are we gonna do, people? What are we gonna do?
Well, I don't know about now. When Harlem was young, I knew something was off. I knew he wasn't progressing the way he was supposed to. I've taken him to several doctors. They even had me take him to a psychiatrist at the age of 2. They said nothing was wrong with him besides he was a brat, behavior problems. And I knew, but that's also a big problem in our community is they brush it off for whatever reason. And when we do try to get these services, the doctors we see and the psychiatrists, psychologists, they say there's something wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with our child. And I think I ended up, after going hard, I think it was about 4 years old that he finally got his diagnosis. So they told me he was blind, they told me he was deaf. I knew he wasn't blind and deaf, but they did not want to diagnose him with autism for whatever reason.
That and that's the thing. I really, my desire was to see more advocates, to really advocate on behalf of situations such as that, because sometimes many families don't even have the language to put to what they need.
Mm-hmm.
Some, yeah, parents like yourself, yes, you like, I'm gonna get what I'm gonna get, and I'm gonna get it, and that's that. But then there's other cases where they just don't have the capacity to
Yeah.
do, that it's just not the capacity. So finding other ways to bring it to the people, to bring it to the community, to bring those resources where they are so close that if you don't get it, it's not because it wasn't provided, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm believing. Different organizations, like I said, we come together and we all work collectively to get the services out there, to advocate and to provide resources and support to individuals and families of the exceptional community, because it's a must do. It's a must do.
Mm-hmm.
Now I want to ask you, in your journey, as you decided, okay, now I'm about to get my own stuff. How was that?
Well, I've been planning it for about 2, 3 years. Um, but like I said, once he started school and I seen all the struggles I was going through and the having to worry every day that, something was going to happen to him. And I always said, I don't want my child anywhere where he's not wanted. And I always felt like he was not wanted in these, well, it was actually 3 public schools here in Northwest Indiana, but every single school I felt like he was not wanted. So that's when I started putting my plan into action. um of opening something where he's gonna, of course I want him, of course I want him to be educated. So I started doing my research, and this is where I am now. But that's what started it. The fact that it hurts when you feel your child is not wanted somewhere.
Yeah, and that is definitely not the message that we want to send,
Hmm.
because every child is excuse me, every child is special, unique, and deserves to be loved.
Yeah, exactly.
And no ifs, ands, and buts about it. And I understand when you don't. In all fairness to those who are educating, like I said, all of them are not like that. Um, but I do push for the school system to provide more in services, more training.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about just once a 3 month. No, because the turnover rate in the special education classes is high. They can't keep teachers,
Yeah.
and it's because when my daughter was in school, I pulled her,
Hmm.
homeschooled her. And I even, now she's a teenager, she's at high school age. I was like, should I send her back since it's high school? And in my mind, I was trying to convince myself to do this, to just give it a try. But I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I went though. I went to the high school. I did the whole, and it wasn't because they were mean or anything, but I was looking at the environment, and I was looking at, because as when you're a part of exceptional community, your what you see may be different what other people see.
Hmm.
I'm looking at all safety measures. I'm looking at, okay, is there an exit door right here? Oh no, that is too close to the door. What were they thinking? What would make them put a classroom right next to the door? I mean, who's doing this? They cannot have any exceptional members in their family, because if they know anything about eloping, they would not to have a classroom next to this front door.
Hmm.
And they're like, oh, the door is heavy. Do you know my daughter is super strong? That means nothing, you know.
Hmm.
And I'm like, so I'm looking at all these things, and like I said, I even talked with the classroom teacher, Helen, and I'm listening to, and he was, it seemed like he was nervous because he knew that I know what I'm, he's like, okay, is she, and I wasn't trying to make him nervous, but it was just like, so tell me, what do you do in the class? So I noticed when I came in, I saw this one student. She was just standing there in that little corner. So how do you engage? How do you include her? I know that she's on the spectrum, and I know she was severely, But what is it that you do? Is this just kind of like a holding space, or I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
questions, because I'm trying to figure out, because in my mind again, I was trying to convince myself, Helen, it wasn't working though. I already know this was not going to happen. So, but I wanted to see. And then, so they take me on a tour and to show me where they eat in the cafeteria. Now, this is quite a walk from where the classroom is. And in my head, I'm thinking, my daughter is going to be really curious. They're going to probably have to chase her down that way, and that way. I said this, and then I said, oh, and she's going, and I believe in inclusion, don't get me wrong, but when it's sensory overload,
Yeah.
it's not gonna work. You'll be calling me ASAP because it's not gonna work. So this is what I'm seeing, because my perspective is different because of my experience and what
Hmm.
I know about my daughter. And so they said, so did you decide? I was like, no, no. And then she said, well, they still are required to give you services if you're homeschooled. She can get hours at this place and that place. And I said, I said, and she does have therapy outside already. I said, I just wanted to see for myself if this was something that I could just try to consider. And it's like I said, there's no shade against the high school, because they're doing what they do, and it works for who it works for, and to each his own. But I'm just saying, we have to look at these things when we're a part of this community. We can't just say, okay, sure, I'm gonna send them there. Absolutely not. You have to be like Magnum PI and do some investigation,
Exactly.
and
I
so
believe in inclusion, but inclusion with certain, like you said, yeah, have all kids together, but not have 50 of them, versus, okay, let all the kids be together, have 10 instead of 50. Just tweak it a little bit.
yes,
um
yes. And I asked them, I said, do you all still use bullhorns in the cafeteria to get the kids' attention? Because I remember when my daughter was in school, they would and she would not go in that cafeteria.
mhm.
They would have had to get a straight up semi truck to push her into that cafeteria because she was not going. Because every time the lady would get on this bullhorn, everybody line up, and she's like, "Oh no!"
Mhm.
And yet they said, "Well, she's not being compliant." Hmm. Okay, so let's read the IEP. What does it say? What does it say? She has sensory. So what does that mean? I told you loud noises. She cannot do that.
Mhm.
And the bullhorn will be loud. That's it. So, even revisiting that IEP, if you are in school and your child has an IEP, you really need to pay attention to what's going on. Don't just settle, just look like, okay, that's great. I'm glad you're going to implement that. No, you have to follow up, especially if you have nonverbal children. They're, and they still communicate too. Because my daughter would tell me things and I would know what if it was something that wasn't right, I would
Yeah.
know because you cannot not communicate. They communicate all because they may not have sentences or long paragraphs does not mean that they don't communicate. And we have to really listen when our babies are doing that because
Oh
it's important, and not dismiss it at all. And sometimes you're like, oh, no, listen. Listen to what you see. I tell people
yeah,
that all the time.
exactly.
Listen to what you see because you will learn a lot about what's going on in their world.
Mhm.
So yes, that's pretty much, honey. I'm telling you. And so as you go on your journey and you develop this awesome, awesome place where people can say, what is something that you would like to share that can encourage those out there that are watching that may want to give up? Like, this is so hard. Or they may be doing it on their own. They may not have a tribe. What can you encourage or what can you say to them to, empower them?
Hmm. That's such a hard question, because I have those days myself. But in this community, you just have to be strong. You have to be strong, and you have to keep going. And in life general, you're going to have a hard day, and then one day it's going to ease up, But in this community, absolutely. You have to be strong. Um, I don't have, as far as that goes, like I said, one day I might be pulling my hair out. So I don't have any advice except for keep going. And I'm hoping it'll get better. I don't have an answer to that.
Yeah, and it is. You do. You have good days and you have bad days. Everybody has somebody or something that they believe in. And I
Mhm.
always encourage this on my show. For me, it's my faith. For me, is that's who I lean to because sometimes what I'm feeling or what I may be going through, there is nothing nobody here on this good green earth can do about it.
Yeah,
Nothing.
yeah,
And
that's true.
so I have to take everything to God and I have to remind him of his promises. And I have to really remind myself that he's always with me and he'll never leave me. And that's what I encourage people. If you have a faith base, or if you have a church or a community, pull on them, you know,
Yeah.
pull on them because this walk is not meant for you to walk it alone. It
And
really
I think a lot of parents do walk it alone because of everything that goes behind asking someone for help, or even saying, today's a rough day, I can't take it. There's so much judgment that, and then if they don't understand what you're going through, that yeah, they're gonna judge you. It just gets worse. So I think a lot of parents rather just keep it inside their house and not tell anybody what's really going on because they don't want to be judged.
And see, and this is where your faith comes in, right there, because I tell you, I have experienced some days where people were just not so nice. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
it that way. um, and not just people, but organizations and communities that that I pay my tax dollars to.
Mm-hmm.
The same places that I may go eat and spend money, those same places where you may go exercise, those same places that you frequent. But I have to look at things in a different perspective, because if not, God knows I'd be fighting every day. I don't want to fight. You know, I'm like, I don't want to fight. Jesus, please help me. Please help me be slow to speak, because you know how I am, Lord, about my baby.
Yeah.
And you know how you created me, and you know I got fire. I'm fire, and so I have to lean on my faith, and I know people don't know. Some people are just clueless to what, the experiences and the journey that you go through. But there are a whole lot of people that's going to say, keep going. What do
Mm-hmm.
you need? You need 5 minutes? Okay, I'm gonna keep 5 minutes, because I know you're not gonna let me take her, but I'm staying right here so you can go just sit down for a few minutes. Okay, you got your few minutes, you good? Good. Come on. I have a sister cousin, she'll tell me what you need. You need that. You need those people. And I choose to surround myself with those people, because if you can't edify me, there's no reason for us to be in
Yeah.
any type of dialogue, because in this journey I have no time for I call them crows. I don't know if you saw the Wiz of Oz, the Wiz back in the day, and Michael
Mm-hmm.
Jackson and the Scarecrow, and the crows was like, you can't win. No, I don't do crows. I'm light. If you cannot be a guiding light, then I have to choose to surround myself with those who will be a guiding light.
Mm-hmm.
So then I can come back and educate you, those who are in darkness, to bring you to the light, because that's what you do when you want to advocate. That's what you do. I want to be the change that I want to see. It starts with me. So I'm going to learn, because I used to get upset, and then I tell you about stuff like, oh, what you say? No, I can't do that. I have to be to a point where I can educate people, because, or like, people say some really strange things to you or ask you questions about your child. And I politely say, okay,
Yeah.
so this is how this makes me feel when this is said to me. So let me say this to you. How do you feel if, you know, really not just letting things always sit without addressing it when it comes to this community? Sometimes we just kind of, some parents just bag back. And I'm not saying be confrontational, but be in a place where you can be ready at all times to educate people on your journey, because I believe that we perish due to lack of knowledge. So therefore, it's my job on this journey to make sure that you're educated about my child and all the other exceptional people in the community, because I'll be a voice, and I'm okay with being a voice, because I know there are so many voices out there that try to silence those who are on this journey. But we're not having that, because we are guiding lights, and that's it.
I've never, thank God, with taking my son in public, I've never had anyone look at him or say anything to him, nothing. And I think it's my demeanor when I'm out in public with him, because I don't look like this. And you will know from my face, I don't play. So thank God that I've never had that experience. But I remember being younger before I had him, and I would see a child in the store or anywhere throwing a tantrum, and I'd be like, man, that kid's a brat. But now that I have my son, I look back at that like, wow, that child could have been autistic, and he was having a meltdown, not a tantrum, because I believe there's a big difference in the two. Don't get me wrong. Autistic children have tantrums. Do I agree with them? Absolutely not. Do I allow my child to have tantrums? Absolutely not. Is he allowed to have a meltdown? Absolutely. I feel there's a big difference in the two. The tantrum is something that, oh, I can't have this, I'm going to throw a tantrum. A meltdown is he's overstimulated. So I'm going to help him get through that meltdown. But no, I don't help him get through tantrums because I feel like he knows what he's doing.
That's interesting that you deciphered between the two. You know, even with STEMing, that's
Mhm.
another, when people see that, it makes other people uncomfortable sometimes because one, sometimes they may stem and it may be a rock that's really hard,
Mhm.
right? Or they may, because every child that's on the spectrum is different. They don't all STEM. They may not all, like some say, well, you're autistic if you can't look somebody straight in the eye. That's not true. You
No,
can
not at all.
and you can still look someone in the eye. So it's different for each child. And some of those behaviors for others, it makes them uncomfortable. Or even when you have to protect your child and you may have to put them in a therapeutic hold and you're in public. See, there's many different things, or your child may elope. You may be in a store and now you taking off because your child is running and people are looking at you like, is she going to hurt them? What? Because you frustrated because you're too old. I'm too old to be running up in this store.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, girl, it's been a long day, right? And now if I got to chase you and you know what you're doing, sometimes you know.
Yes.
So you got that mama like, ooh, yes, I'm coming. You know if I got to come. So, these like people, the stairs, because it happens. And I tell parents, I need you to be okay because they don't really know your journey. Anyway, this is your child, and you have to do what's best for your child to keep your child safe. If my child is stemming, yes. If it's too hard, then yes, I'm going to
Mhm.
interject. But this is another way that they regulate themselves. Sensory overload. It could be something in the environment that's overstimulating. It could be anything. It could be a scent. It could
Yeah.
be anything. And so learning your child and learning, okay, they're stemming, but as long as they don't hurt themselves. And what can we do to kind of give them something else to calm them down? Just learning about all these different things. This is a lifelong journey of learning. And I don't care how familiar you are with your child. As they grow older, there's some different things that they may do
Yeah.
that they may not used to do. And so, because I'm like, wait a minute, she didn't used to do this. What is this? What in the world? And so even moving into their teenage years, it's the difference, Helen. Honey, she is a full grown teenager with a full grown attitude.
Mhm.
Because she's on the spectrum does not make her emotionless. Like they don't feel or
Yeah.
don't have the same emotions. And people, I remember I would get the question, so how are you going to teach her about her period when it comes? And I know it's not a conversation that a lot people may have a lot, but it's true. Your kids go through puberty. Your
Mhm.
kids are gonna, these are things you're gonna have to deal with when that time comes. I was just at that time, it didn't come. So I was like, I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
Mhm.
But it's a bridge that you're gonna have to cross. And I did. And the same way that I would teach any other child is the same way that I taught my daughter, you know and you do that. It's like this ability does not mean inability. I say it all the time.
Mhm.
And so I educate people in different ways. I got a book coming out about, it's called Zooey Mama Meets Auntie Red, and this is about her period, the experience, because people ask me that all the time, like, how are you
Mhm.
Will she understand? I said, oh, she understands more than what you think she does. And all because she doesn't communicate in the way that we may communicate does not mean she does not communicate.
Exactly.
And so, but I really enjoy you. I'm so glad that you have your facility. I'm so glad that you took the time to come and share your journey, to share what you're doing. Now, before we leave, if someone wanted to reach out to you or find you, how could they do that?
So I have a website. It's www.beyondthespectrums with an s.com. Telephone number is 219. I forgot my phone number.
Mhm.
No, I mean it's
Your
the
business number?
the business number
Hmm.
219-803. I don't remember it, but you can call my cell phone
Can you
219-614-0049.
can you say your website again slowly for me?
www dot beyond the spectrums.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry. It's you said beyond the
uh,
spectrum?
the spectrums with an
Okay.
s.com.
All right. And then I want to make sure I spelled this right. Uh, Let me know.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So those out there, if you see this, write this down. This is how you can look Helen up and find her. Make sure you look her up because she's doing a wonderful work here. And you are in Northwest Indiana.
Gary.
Gary, Indiana.
Hmm.
So this is awesome services. Please look her up. She's passionate about what she does. She knows she lives this life. She is part of the exceptional community. And again, my gratitude for you coming on, Helen. And for all those out there looking, listen, make sure you like and share this video because there's people out there that need encouragement. They need to see other people in this community that is they're doing it and they're doing it well. And even doing it well, they may have their moments because we're all human and we do. And that's what makes us so unique in this community. And so I'm so glad again that she came to join and share her story. My name is Alexis Nelson. I am the founder of BEST, which is Be Exceptional Support Together. If you would like to learn more about what BEST does, make sure you go to bestsupport.org or you can email me at info@bestsupport.org if you have a journey that you want to share and you want to come on the show. Again, I need you all to save the date, May 18th, the Don't Stare, Just Care All Abilities Walk. We want all to come out and participate as we celebrate the uniqueness and the diversity of our community. And so, again, you all have a very good day. Thank you for joining Guiding Lights. And until next time, we shall see you later.
Oh,